Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, ve'al Yovad, ve'al Yovad Yisrael. Omerim Shema Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael. Shomer, Shomer Yisrael. Shemo Sherit Yisrael. Shemo Sherit Yisrael. Ve'al Yovad, ve'al Yovad, ve'al Yovad Yisrael. Omerim Shema Yisrael. Omerim Shema Yisrael. Omerim Shema Yisrael. Omerim Shema Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom. This week's parasha is Parshat Sh'lach. And the main story in this week's parasha is the story of the 12 spies, which I'm not going to say too much about because if you want to find out more about them, come tomorrow morning. Our B'nai Mitzvah will tell us all about the story of the 12 spies. But in essence, it's a story about the test of faith, test of trust. We have another narrative in this week's parasha, whose theme is also about belief and trust. It's a rather hard story to read. It's a story of a Shabbat violator, a man who's not named, who's found by the Israelites gathering wood on Shabbat. You're not supposed to go gathering things on Shabbat. And so he's brought to Moshe. The scholars, the rabbis say, on Motzei Shabbat, after Shabbat is over, brought to Moshe. And Moshe is told that this man was gathering wood on Shabbat. Moshe is not quite sure what to do with this person. He knows that this person has violated Shabbat publicly, has caused upset. So he puts this person in incarceration and talks to God, asks God what to do. And this is where the story gets very difficult, because God tells Moshe that this man must be stoned to death. He must be taken out of the camp, and the people must pelt him with stones. Very harsh, if you take the story literally. But if you view the story as the Midrash views it, it's illustrating the dangers to the values of the Jewish people by someone violating Shabbat publicly. Values, dangerous, damaging to people's faith and trust in God. The story sort of reminds me of another story in the Torah of Israelites gathering. They gathered their food, their bread, the manna. God instructs Moshe to tell the Israelites That when they wake up in the morning, once the dew on the ground has melted, they must gather the substance which is to be their food during the 40 years wandering in the wilderness. The Israelites go and they find the substance on the ground and they don't know what it is. They say, manhu, what is this? And so it's called man in Hebrew or manna in English. And they are told that they must gather just enough for that day. But many don't have trust and belief that the manna will appear the next day. And so they gather a double portion. And they consume the first half of it because for that day. And they wake up in the morning, they check their pots and pans, they find that the manna has turned into maggots. Why? Because they had no faith and trust that the next day they can go out and gather more manna. Perhaps similarly, this Shabbat violator wasn't sure whether he had enough wood for fire on Shabbat. And so on Shabbat morning, he went out and gathered wood. And the people saw him. And this could damage their trust and faith. If this man is gathering wood on Shabbat, maybe we should all do the same. So many Jews perhaps don't believe in God, observe the Chagim or Shabbat. Of course, there are many ways to observe Shabbat, as we know. Many Jews don't do that. And I guess it's okay if they don't do that privately. But the story teaches us that if we do so publicly, other people see, other people are influenced, and then our values disintegrate. The parasha ends with the commandment of tzitzit, the commandment of attaching these fringes to our garments. And the Torah says these tzitzit are there to remind us of the mitzvot, not to be lured away to serve other gods and to do contrary to what the mitzvot command us to do. A reminder of our values and our traditions. The Hebrew word for faith or trust is emunah. The same root forms the word which becomes international now. Every language has that word, amen. What does amen mean? When you hear a prayer or a blessing and we respond amen, you're saying we trust and believe in what you said. We agree with what you're saying. Another Hebrew word with the root aleph mem nun is uman. What is an uman? An uman is an artist, a craftsperson. People that are artists, musicians, sculptors, storytellers, writers, craftsmen and women are born with a divinely given talent. But in order to be successful in their endeavors, they have to exercise their talent. You can ask the choir, you can ask Fabio, you can ask Dean how many times or how often they practice their craft, whatever craft it is. Similarly, we need to practice our belief and our trust. We have to exercise that and show that and demonstrate that. The Shabbat violator did not do that. Perhaps his death wasn't a literal death, but a death of his faith and his trust. We're living in a very difficult time. The world seems to be in chaos. But we have to trust and believe in the goodness of God, the goodness of humanity, and know that we will overcome the challenges that the world presents. That one day the fragments of the world will be collected together, and the world will be whole again. We have to have that trust for us to continue. And for us Jews, we find inspiration in our Torah, in our values and traditions. Ken Yiratzon. Amen.